everyone, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, Chase Lee, and my co-host,
Ryan Sutfield.
That's fucking right. And listen, if you are new to the show, what the show is basically about is we take the movies coming out on each Friday, and we'll take like a specific actor, director, genre, whatever from any one of the movies coming out on that Friday, and we'll make a top 5 list accordingly in honor of the movie playing that weekend. The cool thing about the show is that it's live, so I have no idea what the fuck is going to come out of our mouths, and we don't know each other's lists. So sometimes I'm pretty good. I can guess Brian's list, but other times I cannot, just like this week. So there was only one movie that came out this weekend. It was Krampus. And, it was kind of hard to come up with a list because we've already done our top 5 horror films and stuff, so I was thinking, well, Krampus is unique because it's a PG-13 horror film, and usually those suck ass, so we want to try to pick from the litter a little bit and try to pick out the best ones. So that is what we're doing this week is top 5 PG-13 horror films in honor of Krampus. But before we begin, Brian, how are we doing today?
Well,
oh my God, he's signing it. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. You can just see it in his voice. He just doesn't care about this week. Look at him. He's wearing a fucking hat. He's got his arms crossed. He doesn't give a shit. Look at him. Brian, what do you guys say to that? Exactly. Look at that. He's so dumbfounded right now. He's so befuddled. That's right. I know other words besides fuck. That's right. I have a somewhat extended vocabulary. So, all right. So we're going to do PG-13 horror films. And it's going to be interesting because, listen, do I like my fair share of like slasher movies that are rated R and we get to see nothing but tits and blood and gore? Of course. I love the slasher movies and I love R-rated horror films. But you can make a good PG-13 horror film. I've always said this from the get-go, and I still hold – this is how I hold every single horror movie up into this bar. You got to have 3 things. You got to have atmosphere, you have to have consistent tone, and you have to have good cinematography. That includes lighting, camera shots, whatever. You have those 3 things, you can make a pretty damn good horror film. It also has to do with editing and the way it's edited to build that suspension, and it has to also do with the sound design. Like mostly all those things, but those 3 things I look for in a horror film. But there are some that are PG-13 that can literally scare the shit out of you. So, Brian, what is your take on horror films? Because Brian just loves them so much. Okay, let me ask you this: Do you care if it's PG-13 or R? Do you have a preference? Do you think that PG-13 horror films could work?
Well, it all depends on who's making it. It really all depends on who's making it. Like, you could get, like, a PG-13 horror film. Like, if you get one from Scorsese, you'll know that maybe it's meant to be PG-13 for some reason. Spielberg, something. And a great horror director, like a James Wan, for example. Like, it all depends on who makes the film. And that's really all it depends on. And if it's intense for a PG-13 movie, then that's what it did its job well. Like, there are some PG-13 horror movies that are definitely scarier than a lot of the R-rated horror films we've had in the past few years. So, I mean, the PG-13 horror films are really something special. And they could be mixed towards people, but to me, it all depends on who's making it. That's really all. That's really it.
I mean, it's true. Like, I don't mean to give away my review, but I'm not. But I will say this. We are honoring Krampus, which is a PG-13 horror film. I just got back from it. It's awesome. Like, it's a damn entertaining horror film, and it's legitimately creepy. Like, there's actually really cool imagery. It's all about the practical effects in some scenes. Some of the CGI, it blends in pretty well, but you can definitely tell it's CGI, but it still works because it was soaking in atmosphere. It had a consistent horror comedy tone, and the cinematography and lighting were great. So, I mean, it just – Brian's right. It all depends on who fucking makes it, and if you want to make it shitty, make it shitty. And you want to poop out, PG-13 horror films like, I don't know, fucking Ouija or whatever, then sure, go for it. But if you want to pump out a really cool horror film based on a folklore or myth, then you do Krampus. So without further ado, let's get this started. And I'm actually curious to see what Brian's list is because Brian does not like this genre. So I'm actually curious to see what he has picked out of the thousands of movies that are out there. So, as always, Brian goes first. Brian, what is your number 5 favorite PG-13 horror film of all time?
Cloverfield.
Interesting. Would you classify that as more of like a sci-fi thriller or sci-fi?
Sci-fi horror thriller.
Okay. Hey, listen. As long as it's a horror film, I would consider it. So if it's like a horror comedy, a sci-fi horror thriller, whatever, it works. But in some ways, a monster movie is horrific and everything. So yeah. Anyways, describe to us why you like Cloverfield so much.
I remember seeing it when it came out. I was 10 years old, and it was a pretty intense movie. Everybody my age went to go see this film. This was a film that everybody was talking about when I was in 4th grade. It was crazy how everyone was talking about it. It was directed by Doug Liman, who went on to direct Let Me In and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And no, Doug Liman. What?
Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. I don't know why I said Doug Liman. I was just watching Edge of Tomorrow earlier today.
My heart. Oh, my heart. Oh. Ouch.
Oh, stop whining, you little
man. Well, and then who is it produced by?
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, boy, there you go. That was actually, before you continue, that was actually my first Bad Robot movie I saw in theaters. Was
Bad Robot.
That's
how they do it.
That was highly disturbing. Anyways, Brian, could you...
That's how they say it.
Did you do the voiceover for it? Did JJ hire you? Anyways, continue on.
What I like about it is that it uses the found footage element pretty well. It was one of the first found footage films really of this century, and it worked very well for what it was. Like, some people have problems with found footage films. I don't like the way they're going right now. In all honesty, a recent good found footage film we had was The Visit. I thought that was a pretty entertaining film, and this one works very well because, like you said, if there's a monster, it's usually horrific. This monster wasn't necessarily terrifying. I mean, when I was a kid, I was really terrified by it, but over time, I'm like, this monster's not that terrifying, but it's cool how they blend in CGI with found footage. Like, this works very well. The visuals are really strong in this film, and it's a rewatchable film. I remember rewatching it last year before Dawn of the Planet of the Apes came out, and I kind of want to see Matt Reeves do another film like this. I mean, I know he did Let Me In, which is a really good horror film. I highly recommend that film. It's with Chloe Grace Moretz, and I just really like the way it's filmed and stuff. Like, this is a good example of a found footage horror film. Like, a lot of people don't seem to talk about Cloverfield anymore. Like, it was really talked about when it came out, but it's been like 7 years and no one talks about this film anymore. Yeah, you may hear about it from time to time, but no one talks about it. I just think it's a very enjoyable, funny, intense film, and I recommend it.
Yeah, I really love Cloverfield. Like I said, it was my first Bad Robot movie. I had no idea who J.J. Abrams was. But no, Cloverfield was surprising, and I absolutely loved it. It was great. Little fun fact: 2 of the main characters that are in the group of friends, they actually were in that comedy. She's Out of My League or something like that. I forgot the title of it, but I found that kind of funny.
Who wrote this film?
Ooh, Drew Goddard, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. The same guy who also wrote The Martian. That came out earlier this year, and he also directed Cabin in the Woods, which is a great horror comedy, but that's rated R, so we can't put that on the list. Cloverfield's a great choice. All right, so for my number 5, I like Stephen King a lot, and I like a lot of his film adaptations. And unfortunately, The Shining is one of my favorite horror films of all time. That's rated R. I also really love Misery. That's also rated R. But there's one PG-13 horror film to when I saw it in theaters, I was actually blown away on just how emotionally draining it was. And the fact that this movie pulled the rug out from the audience twice and threw, that curveball at us. I'm not going to say what it was, but it's 1408. I absolutely love this movie. I
never saw it.
It's really good, man. I love John Cusack, and Samuel L. Jackson's in it. But John Cusack sells it, man. He is stuck in this room the entire movie, and all the set pieces that go along with this journey are impressive. At one point, the room is underwater. At one point, it's fucking snowing in there. At one point, it's like almost burnt to a crisp. It's amazing how they transform that room in every single set piece. But John Cusack's performance sells it, man. He becomes so paranoid towards the end of that movie. You're just like, oh, wow. Because at the beginning of the movie, it's established that he's one of those he's like a Stephen King. He's like a ghost writer where he'll go stay at creepy hotels or whatever, and he'll write about his haunting experiences. And usually they're not really, enticing for him. So he'll kind of make it up in the books as he goes. But this hotel is legitimately haunted with that room. and he doesn't believe it, and he slowly starts to lose his mind and stuff, and it's just incredible. It's a really good paranoia type of horror film, and that's what Stephen King's good at, because look at Misery. It's a great paranoia movie. Same with The Shining. So 1488, if you have not seen it, very good Stephen King movie. I just remember when I was in theaters back when I saw it, I was blown away because I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, I didn't know what it was or anything, but it was a damn fine movie. So yeah, 1408 is my pick for sure. So Brian, number 4 for you. What's going on there?
I'm going with Disturbia.
Ooh, interesting.
I love this film. I really like it a lot. And it stars Shia LaBeouf. So that's cool before he was a fucked up maniac. This film was directed by G.J. Carasso, who went on to direct him in Eagle Eye, which is unfortunately not that great of a film. I thought that was a pretty disappointing one. What I like about this one is that Shia LaBeouf's actually really strong in this, and he plays the kid who gets involved with an assault, and he's on house arrest for 3 months. He falls for this girl that lives right across the street from him, and like they befriend each other, but then he witnesses some stuff that goes on in this house, and he has to try to find a way to help her before it's like too late and stuff. It's a really intense film. For a PG-13 film, I remember when I saw the trailer for this a lot when I was younger. I was 9 when the film came out. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on cable. And I was just like, this is really intense for a PG-13 horror film. I will say that there were some moments in the film that weren't terrifying, but most of it was pretty terrifying to me, at least. I haven't watched this in a long time. Most of these films I haven't seen in forever. My top 2 I just saw recently. And this one was just something very special because it knew how to engage you into it, the situation that was going on with Shia LaBeouf's character. And I thought it was a really strong film. And I really think a lot of people don't give credit to Shia LaBeouf. I think Shia, despite him being an idiot, I think he's a very, very good actor. And after this, I mean, this was a year when he was like rising up because then he had the first Transformers come out, which I still really like. And I just had a really good time with this movie. And the girl that he falls in love with is really hot. And yeah, the movie was very good. I recommend it. Disturbia, my number 4.
It's a really good one. I remember when it came out, people were they're just like, oh, it's a watered down version of Rear Window. Okay, sure, but Rear Window is like a classic movie. Anything that's going to be compared to that, it's not going to even touch it. So if you want to call Disturbia a watered down movie, think of Rear Window as like a glass of Kool-Aid, okay? And the more water you put in it, the more diluted it's going to get. Disturbia is only like a pinch of water. It's actually a really good, solid thriller. Is it like one of the best movies of all time? No, but I saw it in theaters, and just like Brian, I firmly agree. Regardless of what you think of his like antics, Shia LaBeouf is one of the best actors working today. Whether you think about that or not, and you don't believe me, but watch Nymphomaniac, you'll be swayed. I really liked him in that. But no, Disturbia is a really solid thriller. It's a very good stalker movie, and you should check it out. But I do agree with Brian. Eagle Eye, it's whatever. But Disturbia is definitely one of my favorite Shia LaBeouf movies, which is weird to say, but that's a good pick, man. All right, so my number 4. Shit, man. I gotta go with the original OG from M. Night. Gotta go with Sixth Sense, man. It's a really good ghost story. I love me some ghost stories. I'm a sucker for ghost stories. I'm a sucker for haunted house movies and stuff. And the Sixth Sense just hit it on all cylinders. You guys have heard people talk about this movie day in and day out. I'm not going to say what the twist is because, listen, there's some people out there who have not seen it, unfortunately. What are you doing with your life? You stop this right now and you can fucking see it. Anyways, in 1999, this movie came out, and people hailed M. Night as the next Spielberg. It's going a little too far. However, The Sixth Sense is a very good start to his career, and I'm going to go ahead and just say it right now. You take out Lady in the Water, you take out The Last Airbender, and I didn't see After Earth, so I'm going to discount those 3. Everything else he's done, I actually really like. So, you know, he's actually batting a positive right now out of all of his movies. So, just everyone calm down. But no, The Sixth Sense is what showed us that M. Night is a prominent filmmaker. It's got one of the best twists in movie history. Bruce Willis is awesome. It's, back in the day when he actually gave a shit. Then we have little Haley Joel Osment, who definitely grew up and still kept the same face. I I think he's actually making a good comeback right now. But it's just really funny that his kid face did not change. It's like someone copy and pasted like his kid look and put it on an adult body. That's exactly what it looks like. It's really creepy. But I think he's actually doing really good now than he ever has been. So, but anyways, back in the day when he was a prominent child actor, this is the role that broke him out. I see dead people. It's got iconic lines. It's got a really cool story. It's a really classic type of horror suspense movie. It really is, because when the twist comes and you've really never thought about it throughout the entire movie, you go, oh shit. Now you start recollecting the whole movie and you're like, that made sense. That made sense. Like it's crazy. It's like putting this like puzzle together, and when the twist comes, it's like that realization. You're just like, oh shit, like that totally makes sense, but it threw me off guard. Classic horror movie. The Sixth Sense is great. So if I put it that low on my list, what the hell is going to top it? Well, I think Brian knows. But Brian, what do you think about The Sixth Sense? You want to talk about it, or you want to move on?
Move on.
Oh, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. He's got it on his list somewhere. I'm going to assume top 2. But he's about to give us number 3. So if it's a number 3, I'm going to be wrong. But Brian, what is your number 3?
Number 3?
Oh, look at that.
I'm going with Drag Me to Hell, directed by Sam Raimi.
Interesting. Listen, I really like the movie a lot. I wouldn't put it on my list, but I do like that movie a lot. But can you explain to me why you actually like that movie more than me?
Oh, I do. Well, I'm a big Sam Raimi fan. That's the thing. Like for a film, I remember when this movie came out in 2009. I didn't see it because I remember like it looked like something that was radar, so I couldn't really go see it. I remember it came out the same weekend as the second Night Museum film. I remember that was Memorial Day weekend. It was a big weekend for movies because the Night Museum sequel was a big deal to a lot of people. I saw this when I was older. When I didn't really look at the rating. I just looked at who was in it and the director. So it said, oh, from the guy who made the Spider-Man show. I'm like, okay, that's cool, because I was like 12 when I first watched it, so I didn't see Evil Dead at the time. So like, but this movie really like solidified me. It terrified me. It gave me nightmares. The chick whose name I completely forgot, Allison something. I don't know where the fuck she's been. She killed it here, and she should have been in more stuff after this. I don't know where the hell she went, because she knocked this role out of the park, and the movie's only like 90 minutes long. It flies by super fast. It's intense. It's gory. For a PG-13 movie, I'm surprised this movie even was PG-13. This movie should have been rated R, but you know what? It worked very well for a PG-13 movie. I wish it made more money. I was surprised by how critically loved this film was. It has like a 92% Rotten Tomatoes, which I had no idea other than when I was doing research a few weeks ago for this list. And I was just really like, see, like I said this on our horror episode, if a film terrifies me, then that's what horror is supposed to do. Not be like, oh, jump scare, and it doesn't scare you. A horror movie is supposed to make you feel terrified and give you suspenseful nightmares, and that's what Drag Me to Hell did very well, and I love it so much. I was going to rewatch it for my horror movie marathon, but I didn't get a chance to. Drag Me to Hell really is a fantastic film. Yeah,
Drag Me to Hell is like it's like 80s cheesy B horror in a bottle. That's what that movie is. And I remember when I saw it, it came out in 2009. Was it 9?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was 19 at the time, so I had seen Evil Dead before then. So I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew that I was going to get myself into a Evil Dead type of film. And that's exactly what Drag Me to Hell is. It's a very, very entertaining film. You want to watch a goat get possessed and talk, then watch Drag Me to Hell. You won't be disappointed. But if you honestly do like Evil Dead and you like that kind of horror, comedy, campy vibe, watch Drag Me to Hell. It's a very good one. Is it as good as the Evil Dead trilogy? No, but it's a very entertaining film. I wouldn't put it on my list, unfortunately, even though I do own it. It is somewhere. Okay. All right. So my number 3. You know, the first Saw came out when I was 14 years old. And I really enjoyed it. And I was like, who in the fuck wrote this thing? I realized his name was Lee Winnell. So I've been kind of following this guy since 2004, very creepily. So everything that he comes out with, I'm super excited for. The year was 2010. And this was actually the first PG-13 movie that he wrote. I worked at the movie theater at the time, and so I was like, I remember when the poster came out, I was like, what is this? This looks dumb. What are we doing here, folks? And so the months were passing, and I was like, oh, God, this movie's about to come out. It's going to be one of those like shitty PG-13 horror movies. So I went to go see it, and I was blown away. And I actually like the whole trilogy, by the way. I'm going to talk about the first Insidious.
Oh.
Look at Brian. You sculled your face, motherfucker. Listen, I remember when I saw Insidious for the first time, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew I was going to get a really cool, interesting story because, like I said, I do enjoy Lee Winnell's work. Anywhere going from Saw all the way up until Cooties. I love this guy. He needs to keep making more original horror films and horror comedies and stuff. He's very good at it. Insidious is very, very terrifying. It's actually really creepy. It was one of those movies to where when I went home, I was legitimately creeped out. And I was like, I don't want to fall asleep. Are you fuck? I don't want some Darth Maul demon in the corner of my room like pointing at me while I'm like snoozing. Oh hell no. But this guy's gorgeous cinematography. It's got really good long takes. And yeah, are there jump scares in there? Sure, there are jump scares, but especially like towards the end of the movie when they get into the realm, the further, it is so creepy and terrifying. I was like, James Wan, you crazy motherfucker. You know how to film horror. It's these long takes, these long shots, and they just will stay on something for a good while, and it's well lit. It keeps the shadows hidden. It's just a really good type of it's not really a ghost movie. It's like a soul movie. Souls leaving your body type of deal. But I really love Insidious. It kind of just it changed the game for me. I was like, wow, PG-13 horror movies can actually be fucking terrifying. So for me personally, I like the whole trilogy. I think it's really good, like a good mythology type of movie. It's good. I like it. So Insidious definitely is my number 3 pick. And Brian, I don't think you explained this on our horror episode. So can you explain to me why you hate Insidious so much?
I don't hate the film. I just hated the hype around it. Every teenager was like, I didn't get to see, I really wanted to see this so badly when it came out. I adored the trailer for the movie, and I wasn't able to see the movie when it came out. And everyone was telling me, oh my God, it's like the scariest movie ever. It's like on the level of The Shining and The Exorcist. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch it when it comes out on DVD. So I watched it on demand, and I was so let down by it because of the hype. The hype ruined it for me. I'm not saying, like, I don't think the film is terrible. It's just the hype ruined it for me. That's the problem. Hype sometimes ruins things for me. Like, you go into a movie and you expect something awesome, and you're let down by it. That's how I was with Age of Ultron this year, personally, even though I still like that film very much. With Insidious, it just wasn't as terrifying as everybody said it was. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's like scarier than The Shining. Nothing is scarier than The Shining, except for The fucking Exorcist. And there's other statements that could be made about this, but Insidious to me just didn't really terrify me as much. So then when they made the sequel, I'm like, maybe this would be better. And honestly, I didn't care for the sequel either. I've yet to see the third one. I'm probably gonna maybe watch that when it comes on like HBO or Netflix or whatever. I just never really cared for this franchise as much as like you have or a lot of people in my grade have. I don't hate you for it. Like, I don't hate you. I just don't like the teenagers that like this film because they ruined it for me. And because that's the only thing they go see. All they go see is the shitty horror movies, excluding Insidious. They go see like Ouija, Gallows, Woman in Black 2, whatever other shitty horror movies came out this year. They exclude the It Follows and The Visit and the Krampus. Like, I don't hate Insidious. I just don't care for it as much as I really want to love it, but I can't. Man, the hype ruined it for me.
Look at that rant. Like, Brian just basically threw every 17-year-old under the bus. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's a good thing. No, listen. I actually really like the second one is actually my favorite because it delves more into the backstory of like these specific spirits and stuff. And it's a really cool, kind of creepy, disturbing backstory. So I've just enjoyed the franchise. I really have. There's really no other way to describe it. It's just a really creepy fucking movie, man. That's what blew me away is because I was expecting one of those like shitty PG-13 jump scare movies, and I was treated to a very atmospheric, kind of moody, different type of horror film that actually got under my skin, and that's why I liked it. So we're getting down to our top 2, folks, and I'm gonna call it right now. I think Brian and I actually have one of those 2 in common. Now, Brian's got The Sixth Sense in there somewhere, but I also think that he's got another one that we have in common. I'm not sure, though. I think we do. But, Brian, what is your number 2 favorite PG-13 horror film of all time?
I feel like my number 2 might be your number 1. I have no clue, in all honesty.
Interesting.
My number 2 goes to The Ring.
Okay.
Originally, this was my number 1. But then I thought about it, and I realized that some other film topped that. And The Ring really terrified me. This is, in my opinion, the most terrifying PG-13 horror film we've ever had. But it's not the best PG-13 horror film we've ever had. What I love about this film, and I said this on our horror films episode, you got an amazing performance from the beautiful Naomi Watts. You got an engaging story, thrilling sequences, excellent direction by Gore Verbinski, and it was just a really intense story that really got to me. And honestly, after I rewatched this during my horror movie marathon on Halloween, and I just couldn't, like, part of me couldn't get through it because I was so, like, terrified by it. So I have no clue how this all went down. So it was a really intense film. It worked so well for what it was. And I adored The Ring. It got under my skin. The scene where she's crawling out of the TV still terrifies me. That's one of the most terrifying sequences in any film ever. And The Ring really is a masterpiece, in my opinion.
Okay. I'll talk about it later. So that's interesting. So my number 2, I remember when I was, what was I? I was 11 years old when this came out. I didn't know what to expect. So I went to this like really dumpy theater that is now out of business. And I remember when I saw this, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, oh, it's another ghost haunted house story. It's PG-13, gross. It's probably going to be really bad. I was like, okay. Oh, shit. Oh, the twist happened. That's pretty fucking depressing. And it's now become one of my favorite kind of like horror gems out there. Now, I saw it in 2001, and I was blown away by it. I love the filmmaking. I love the way it was shot. I love the way it built up tension and just this suspense and this paranoia of this mother. And I watched it literally a couple of months ago, and I hadn't seen it in like 15 years, so I forgot about the twist. So when it happened again, I was blown away all over again. It is the thumbnail of our episode. It is The Others, my friends. I love this movie. Listen, it's just like The Sixth Sense where I don't want to spoil the twist, but you are sucked into this world right off the bat. And like when the ending happens or whatever, you're just like, what the hell is going on? But it's just like The Sixth Sense. When that twist happens and you go back and you start thinking about the whole movie, it actually starts to make sense. But you don't start thinking about that because you're so invested in the story and the characters and where the hell this is going to go, to where when the twist does happen, you're going, oh my God, that worked. What the fuck is going on? So it's a very atmospheric ghost story. I love The Others. It's one of my favorite Nicole Kidman movies, faux show. I remember when I saw it in middle. I remember when I saw it in middle school. I liked it then. I like it now. It's one of my favorites. That's my number 2, The Others. So, Brian, since that isn't your number 1, what do you think about The Others?
Oh, I love it. It's great.
Yeah,
it almost made the list. It was originally on it, but then I had to kind of take it off. Like, it's my number 6. It's such a good film. Nicole Kidman is amazing here. She's terrific, and she looks great here too. Like she looks great. Tommy Cruise, why did you leave her, man?
Because he's an idiot.
Exactly.
But
it's a really suspenseful film.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. I completely forgot it was PG-13. Some of these films, like I already knew the The Ring was PG-13 because I just recently rewatched it, but I completely forgot that this particular film was PG-13 because it felt like an R-rated movie. This movie really, really, really terrified me. And it was so engaging, and I think it's one of Nicole Kidman's most underrated performances. I don't think a lot of people ever talk about this movie or her performance because she is spectacular here. And the movie itself is really amazing.
Yeah, it's if you guys have not seen the others, just go in there blind. You just know it's a ghost story. That's it. That's all you need to know. And when it happens at the very end, you're just like, what's going on? It kind of reminded me of like a really classic, like 1960s type of ghost story where it's just very simple, very laid back and stuff. And it felt like an old school horror film, and it was made in 2001. So there you go. Actually, it's probably 2002. It's either 2001, 2002, or 2003. I always forget. It's one of those years, but it was definitely in the early 2000s, and it was definitely a surprise hit, that's for sure. All right. So I already know what Brian's number one is. Brian, would you like to take a stab at as to what my number one is?
The Ring.
You're damn right, son. All right. So, Brian, explain to me why The Sixth Sense is your favorite PG-13 horror film of all time.
Well, like I said, The Ring is the most terrifying PG-13 horror film ever, but this is the most psychologically messed up PG-13 horror film we've ever had. And that's because of M. Night Shyamalan's brilliant writing and direction. I think it's a little too far that they call him the next Spielberg after one film. I think that's a little too far.
A little too far.
I mean, he got nominated for director. The film got nominated for Best Picture. I'm glad that Shyamalan is an Oscar nominee, and I'm glad that he's kind of coming back to do these low-budget films. Bruce Willis is awesome here, like you said. He is terrific here. I think he should have been nominated for Best Actor. I thought he was that good in this movie. I thought he was that good. Because if you think about it, this might be the best performance he's ever given. Or some people may say, oh, his performance in Pulp Fiction. But this is more of a his performance is more.
Didn't Haley Joel Osment get nominated for it?
Yes, he did. He did, and that I was just about to say that is one of the best child performances we've ever had in films. This is a guy who we saw. We only knew him from one film. Yeah, some people may not have known him immediately, but we all saw him in Forrest Gump as Forrest Gump Jr. And then he got into this film. He was 11 years old when the film came out, and he knocked it out of the park perfectly. The back and forth between him and Bruce Willis is amazing. You also forgot to mention Toni Collette, who was also terrific here as the mom, and it's ironic because she's in Krampus this week.
She's in Krampus.
It's a damn great film. The twist is fantastic. It's definitely, like you said, one of the best twists we've ever had. I kind of hate that they spoiled it numerous times. If you listen carefully, people, if you ever decide to watch 50 First Dates, don't watch that film because that spoils the twist. So don't watch 50 First Dates until you see The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys know that right now. But no, this is a great film. It's excellent. It's engaging. It's thrilling. It's heartbreaking at some moments, especially in the car sequence with Haley Joel Osment and Toni Collette. And it's a great film. A+ in my book. Excellent film. Excellent directorial debut from Shyamalan. And you know what came out the same year? Even though he didn't direct this other film, he wrote it. Do you know that he wrote Stuart Little?
Yep.
Like, that's the funny thing. He came out with this hardcore PG-13 horror film, and then he came out with this family film about a mouse.
That's always my goal in life, is to come out with something hardcore and then come out with something with a mouse afterwards. No, it's a really good pick, man. I'm glad you have it on your list. I just couldn't put it that high, even though I really love that film to death. All right. So why is The Ring my number one? Like I said, the others came out in like 2001 or 2002. So I was about 11 or 12. The Ring came out in 2002, but I believe it was around the same time. It was like those two back to back. I've only had nightmares from 3 horror films in my entire life to where I would watch it, feel creeped out, and go, don't worry about it. I'll go do something else, take my mind off it, and go to sleep, and I'll be fine. Only 3 movies. Paranormal Activity. I did not sleep that entire night. 13 Ghosts gave me the worst fucking nightmare. Like, I was stuck in the basement with all of those creatures. It was terrifying. I wet the bed probably. The Ring. I will describe this nightmare to you guys, and it still freaks me out to this day. All right. So I'm in my room, and if you exit my room in my parents' house, there's a little hallway that goes down. You take a right, and there's a long hallway that shoots down to my parents' room. All right, so in this nightmare, I wake up from my bed, and like I'm just like, well, why are the lights off? So I try flicking on the lights, nothing works. Powers out. I open my door and I walk down this hallway, and there's like a little bit of fog in the air, and I was like, oh God, I'm about to shit my pants right now, and luckily I did. So I go down this little hallway. I turn to the right. Now everything is dark except for like maybe like a little bit of a light towards my parents' room. I kind of like rub my eyes a little bit because I'm just like, oh man, what's going on? I open up back my eyes, and Samantha, the girl with the black hair from The Ring, is standing at my parents' door, just standing there, and her back is towards me. So she doesn't know I'm behind her. I take one step towards her, and she turns around like really quick. So then she's staring at me. She locks eyes with me. I think to myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to approach this like little girl? Am I going to like grab a chair and like WWE her ass and like hit her in the face? Or am I going to go sprint back to my room like a little pussy? Well, she started sprinting towards me. I went back to my room like a fucking pussy because I was like, I don't want to deal with this shit. So I remember she was sprinting down the hallway, and she's coming full force, mind you. And I turn around, go back to my room. Right before I close my door, I see her slam into the wall, and then I close my door, and she comes and hits my door. I lock my door. I go in my bed, and I'm just like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And so I remember the pounding got faster and faster and louder, and then it stopped. And then I was like, okay, she's gone. So I wanted to get some light in my room just so I could feel better in this nightmare or whatever. So I started like going around my bed with my hand, and I was like, okay, I need a flashlight. So I grabbed the flashlight, and I hit it with my hand just like in every other horror film. It's like, oh shit, the batteries aren't working. So I hit it, and then it finally comes on. And I look around my room, everything's fine, everything's good, okay. And then the light went off, and I was like, oh shit. So I started banging it with my hand again, and as I banged it for the third time, it came on, and my hand like flipped towards the corner of my room, and she was standing in the corner of my room, and she sprints towards me, and then that's when my alarm wakes me up, and then I wake up probably in a night terror with a bunch of night sweat all over my fucking pillow. It was awful. So with that being said, that was the first ever horror film to actually give me a legit nightmare, and I woke up in a terror from it. And it's PG-13. Just like what Brian said, it is one of the most creepiest and terrifying PG-13 horror films I've ever seen in my life. This is actually the best Gore Verbinski movie. He's the guy that directed the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. This is the best thing he's ever done. Now listen, this came out during the slew of the Japanese horror films, and America was remaking The Ring and The Grudge, One Missed Call, The Eye, a bunch of other fucking bullshit that doesn't need to be remade. But I will say this. I have seen Ring-Yu and Ju-On, the Japanese versions of The Ring and The Grudge. So I can compare them. Ju-On, which is the Japanese version of The Grudge, is better than our version, hands down. It is creepier, for sure. I actually think our version of The Ring is creepier than Ring-Yu. And that is super rare, especially since American remakes are terrible. So with that being said, The Ring is truly terrifying. Not only is it soaked with atmosphere, and the cinematography is actually really dark and grainy. So when it shows these creepy images and this imagery, it just kind of gets in you. It's like, oh, gross. Like I need to go take a fucking shower. Like you just want to like strip down, like run throughout the house and be like, oh God, I'm not going to fucking do this anymore. So, especially when the tape part comes and you watch the tape for the first time, it's like, who fucking thought of these images, man? Like, this is gross. Like, it's just terrifying. And Naomi Watts does give a really good performance. I think this was my first introduction towards her was The Ring. And it's like what Brian said, at the very end, when she's crawling out of the well and she comes out of the TV, it's one of the most iconic horror scenes of all time. I'm not even joking. If you had to come up with a list of like the best scenes in horror films, that's one of them. And if you ask anyone, I'm sure they'd probably agree with you. It's just a really atmospheric, great, creepy toned, great lighting, well shot, well acted, creepy horror film. It's one that will stick with you. And the first scene of the entire movie that creeped me out and gave me a little bit of kind of a shrill, and I was like, ooh, I'm probably going to get a nightmare from this. Brian knows what I'm talking about. There's a flashback scene, and when the closet door opens, you pause it on that face, and you're like, huh, I don't want to see that in my closet. Thank you very much. So it's just a really good horror film, guys. If you are looking for a good American remake or just a really creepy movie, maybe for date night or whatever, you want to watch something on Halloween, watch it whenever the hell you want. The Ring is one to go to. It is a very creepy PG-13 horror film. It is the king, in my opinion. Even though Brian's choice, you can't really argue against that either. So, yeah, that is our list, guys. Our top 5 list. Let me go ahead and show it to you guys. As you can see, we have 2 in common, but I gotta tell you, man, this is a pretty solid list. I recommend all of these. Yeah. This is a really good list. I'm gonna sleep well tonight. Not really. I'm gonna have another nightmare again. All right. So, but I do have to mention, if you like the first Ring, prepare to be disappointed from the sequel. You know what's really funny about the sequel to the Ring, like our sequel version, because they made a sequel in Japan as well. The director of the first Ring-U in Japan directed the American version of the Ring 2, and it sucked ass. What the hell happened? Like, that just blows my mind. You get the original guy that brought us the Japanese version, you bring him over to do the sequel, and it's worse than the first one. What are we doing, folks? That doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. So that just has always blown my mind. But the sequel sucks. The first one's great. And they're talking about remaking or making a third one. I forgot what they said, but I'll still continue to watch them because I actually really enjoy them. So that is our list, guys. Let's get into some honorable mentions, ones that just barely made our list. I only got 3 of them. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I love that one. It's such a cheesy, fun, B-rated horror film. It's so bad. It's so bad, but it's so much fun. Another one is actually from the director of Doctor Strange. It's The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I love that one. You want to talk about good exorcism movies? I've only got 3 of them in my catalog. The Exorcist, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, and The Last Exorcism. Those are the only 3 I've ever enjoyed in terms of exorcism movies. That one is different because it's more of a court drama mixed in with a possession story. It's kind of cool. It's a good combination. And also, it's got my girl from Dexter, Jennifer Carpenter. I love that woman. All right, and another one that barely made my list, I'm going to say right now, this is going to be a Christmas classic from here on out. I love Krampus. I will put that on my list in full support. I really like that one. So those are my honorable mentions. Brian, what are some of the ones that barely just made your list?
Like I said, the other, The Village, which I
The Village is mismarketed, by the way. It's actually a very good movie, but it's marketed as a monster movie. It's a love story. Like, rewatch that. It is a fucking love story. Because
even though I wasn't a fan of the twist per se, I still think the film is good. And Red Eye is amazing. Wes Craven, that's actually a really, really excellent film. Excellent film.
That one is very tension-filled. You want to watch a movie with Cillian Murphy looking like a creepy motherfucker, watch that one.
He's always a creepy-looking motherfucker. Even when he's playing the nicest, kindest guy in the world, he's still a creepy-looking motherfucker.
That's true. No, I really like Red Eye a lot. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's a very underrated Wes Craven movie. So, yeah. Do you have any worse ones? I mean,
I didn't really bother looking up any.
Yeah, I was supposed to say we could have like a whole list of like worse ones. Look at just look at anything in the past 5 years. You'll find something. You'll find a turd somewhere. So, with that being said, guys, that will do it for this week's episode of PG-13 horror films in honor of Krampus. You guys need to see fucking Krampus. Go fucking see it.
I'm seeing it tonight.
It's really good. So yeah, Brian, let me know what you think of Krampus. I love saying that name. So Brian, as always, will introduce next week's episode. So Brian, what are we tackling next week?
Next week, in honor, In the Heart of the Sea, we're going to be doing our top 5 Ron Howard films.
Yeah, Ronnie Howard, good old Opie from Andy Griffith. It was really funny because like my that's like my dad's favorite show of all time is Andy Griffith. And when I told him that Ron Howard actually makes movies, he's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, he went from acting and he actually directs a lot now. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. So
he's an Oscar winner.
Yeah, no, he's actually one of the only child prodigies to actually have a really successful career. It's like he child acts back in the 60s and stuff. And you're like, oh, this kid's going nowhere. And then he does a little bit more movies and stuff. He's like, he's not really a good actor. But then when he starts directing, it's like it's a completely different story. So, yeah, I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of Apollo 13s of Beautiful Minds in there. I'm sure he's going to have – this is going to be a really interesting list. So, I'm excited to do it, and I'm sure Brian is as well, because I'm sure he was just so excited to talk about today's episode. He's ready to move on from the past and look forward to the future. So, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter or whatever, it's @RealChaseling. All my stuff will be in the link in the description below. Brian, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Brian78, and YouTube @Brian.
Yep. So go follow him. And Brian, do you want to tell our listeners what you're working on?
I'm working on some college portfolio video called I Love Film. I'm not going to discuss what it is. I'm just going to say that Chase is one of the people that's involved in it. It should be like released maybe sometime early next year to the public. So look forward to that.
So are you going to release it on your YouTube channel?
Yes.
Okay, so subscribe to his YouTube channel and check that out. I saw an early cut of it. It's a pretty cool little documentary that, it'll say a lot about the film industry. So, yeah, that will do it for this week's episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live, guys. Next week, Ron Howard films, good old Opie. And that's it. So comment down below, right below my face, what are some of your favorite PG-13 horror films? Do you think that horror films could be good as PG-13 movies, or do you think they need to be rated R? For me personally, Brian said it really best in the beginning, depends on who makes it. James Wan can make a really good PG-13 horror film and then make a really good R-rated horror film like The Conjuring. So it's like he can do both. So it's just a matter of how you approach it, and don't make it cheesy. Don't make it, jump cutty and stuff like, or jump scare. Sorry. You have to make it good. You make a good film. I don't give a shit what the rating is. That's what's really great about Krampus. It's got some really creepy imagery. I love the practical effects. There's some issues with it, but I'll get into my review of it tomorrow. But it's a really good horror film, and it is PG-13, so just a matter of who does it. So we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live. I'm Chase Lee.
I'm Brian Suffield.
Fucking right. And we will see you guys next week. Peace out, mother Fs. Let's play the fucking music, which is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. Check them out in the link in the description below. Play it out, bitch. I just call myself a bitch. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm going to go cry now. All right. I'll see you guys later. And Brian will see you guys later too.